Hi, my dearest family. Today we are going to be looking at the, excuse me, the upcoming full moon. Well, this full moon is taking place on the 1st or the 2nd of February, depending on where you are. And I would like to remind you that now all my full moon and new moon eclipse readings are going to be for members. And if you would like to be participating in that membership, then you can go on my website and check it out. I've redesigned the entire membership program and I made it kind of like a Netflix version of an astrological library. I've got about 250 courses and webinars altogether. So all of them are going to be or can be at the disposal of your own time. You can choose what you would like to learn, what you would like to watch, and it comes with full moon and new moon readings as well. So more details on my website. And also remember, I've got a 50% discount off on all my readings, courses, and webinars as well. It's my yearly birthday presentation. So my birthday is on the 6th of February. So this week is about a celebration of me turning 43 years young. But let's get going with this full moon, which is going to be taking place on 13th degree of Leo. First of all, what is a full moon? A full moon is pretty much of a lunar phase, and that occurs when the Earth is positioned directly between the sun and the moon. So basically, the sun and the moon are going to be in an exact opposition, 180 degree apart. So you can see that the moon is in the sign of Leo and the sun is in the sign of Aquarius. Because the moon has no light of its own, it acts as a mirror during a full moon. It reflects the sun's light entirely, illuminating the night sky and bringing hidden things into view. So the full moon is always a culmination of something. It's an illumination. Typically, issues that were previously unclear often come to light. And opposition often creates this tug of war between two opposite signs. In this case, the sun is in the sign of Aquarius, which is the collective, the groups, the friends. Now is facing off against the moon in Leo, which is the individual, the self. A full moon would be a phase that often brings high emotional energy, but it's also a breaking point, a breakthrough point as well. So this is a Leo new moon, which is also ruled by the sun. And you can see that the sun is pretty surrounded by other planets as well in the sign of Aquarius. We've got Vesta, Australia, Mars, Pluto, Venus, Mercury. So we've got a major stellium happening in that sign of Aquarius. And I have made separate videos about all of them. But let's have a look at what a full moon or a lunation is about in the sign of Leo. Firstly, it could talk to us about creative projects. Leo is the artist of the zodiacal signs. So if you have been working on a creative project, a book or a performance, then this could be, for example, a grand opening time. It is time to move from the editing phase to the sharing phase because the full moon is a spotlight. So this is about endings on one hand, but secondly, it is about placing or putting something on a stage. We make it visible. Also, Leo is about validation and visibility as well. Leo always seeks to be seen and to be admired. So this could be about recognition. Imagine that you have been working behind the scene and you might suddenly find yourself in the spotlight. But it can also reveal where your ego has been seeking external validation rather than the internal self-worth. Leo is the sign of confidence. Thirdly, Leo could talk to us about matters of the heart as well. Leo is associated with the fifth house, which is about romance and joy. I would like to remind you not to mix the houses and the signs because they are not the same. The houses will talk to you about the area of life, while the sign shows you how we do things. So, but this is an opposition, and oppositions often represent turning points, especially when it comes to connections. So, we have to be deciding here to either commit more deeply to the fun and passion or realize that the spark is no longer there. So, one of the questions that can be popping up with a full moon in the in the full moon in the sign of Leo is whether your heart truly in is in something. Or fourthly, Leo could talk to us about authenticity or performance. So, because the sun is in the sign of Aquarius, which often values fitting into a group, the full moon in Leo asks you to stop performing for others and start being radically authentic. Um, when you think of the 13th degree, often 13th degree might be associated with transformation and intensity. It can be linked to death and rebirth, especially due to the 13th tarot card, which is the death card. So I would say that this full moon here might suggest that something needs to be celebrated, something needs to be born in your life, an old version of your identity or a specific ego attachment may need to be let gone. So this full moon is happening on Capricorn dwad. If you are unaware of what dwads are a 2.5 degree little segment of the sign. And the first 2.5 degree of the sign is always the purest form of the sign. So that would be Leo. And then the next little segment would be the next in zodiacal order. So that would be the Virgo. So if you calculate this 13 degree, this is going to be falling onto Capricorn dwad. So this is a Saturnian ruled little portion of the sign. So on one hand, when you look at the major themes here, for example, recognition, if you want to add the Capricorn part to it, that would be about through efforts. While a typical Leo full moon would be about fame and attention, the Capricorn what demands respect earned through hard work. This is about this isn't about a lucky break. It's more of a culmination of a long-term project or a career milestone, for example. This is not just about you being seen, but being celebrated for something that you achieved, or you're trying to establish something as an authority figure as well. Both Leo and Capricorn are connected to leaderships. So one of the predictions that we can make here is that a leader who might be actually passing away, or a leader who is going to, they are going to reveal something about a leader. However, if you think of creativity, which is also coming under the umbrella of Leo, that comes with discipline. Leo wants to play, but Capricorn wants to build. So this could be about a fun project, for example, that somehow meets the structure of reality. So imagine that you would like to turn a hobby into a business, or a manuscript finally gets a concrete publication plan. It's the sobering up of that creative process that you are in. Now, probably I would like to mention this is one of the reasons why I have chosen 1st of February as the launch date of my new membership program, is because I feel like it's a super good one for that. The reason being is because I have been working on this membership program for a long time, as well as Capricorn is something to do with staging. if you think of Leo as the legacy of the ego, Capricorn is obsessed with time and legacy and achievement. So therefore, this full moon would be asking us, is what I'm creating going to last? Yes, Capricorn is the sign of fear as well. So I'm putting something out there on a stage, and potentially this might be coming with a touch of fear, whether it's going to be successful, for example, and so forth, because I don't have the time to waste anymore. I think it's about a transition from seeking temporary applause to building something that survives. You might even feel this sense of duty or responsibility towards your creative projects, kind of like that inner child, for example. Um, I would say that there is a bit of a shyness or a reserved quality to this segment of the Leo part. Leo is not a shy sign overall. Leo usually feels this urge to roar, but the Capricorn influence makes you want to ensure that roar is dignified and strategic. Imagine this as kind of like the king or the queen being in the boardroom rather than the king or the queen being on the stage. Since Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is about to be moving into the sign of Aries, so I would say that this is going to be a massive push towards actions to become the cheerleader of your own life. I think you are being asked to take leadership of your own joy. Now, let's have a look at what aspects do we have for this full moon. Well, we've got an opposition to Vesta. We've got a quincunx to Juno in Capricorn. The Sun is actually on the midpoint of Venus and Mars. And we have got a very tight trine to Ceres as well at the same time. And we have got two asteroids. One of them is going to be Apollo, which I did make a separate video about because Apollo spends a long time in the sign of Leo, almost until the end of the year. And even Apollo's sun can be found here as well. And that would be Asculapia. So let's just break that down a little bit, what this might be talking to us about. I think, when it comes to Leo, that's kind of like your personal throne. And when the Aquarius element comes into the picture, that's more about the social, relational dynamics. It's kind of like having to share the throne with someone else. So therefore, this is a reminder here that it's not just about look at me moment. It's about how do I fit into the future moment as well. Now the sun is sitting on the midpoint of Venus and Mars. So it really feels like it's a passionate intellect energy in Aquarius. The union of the masculine and the feminine isn't about raw romance. It's about a creative chemistry, the birth of an idea. Somehow your ego is currently fueled by this desire to innovate something. And this midpoint suggests that I want to create something highly attractive, magnetic energy for your projects. And it can even indicate that people are going to be drawn to the concept of what you are doing. Because Venus is about what we desire, and Mars is about how we go after it. And the sun is our life journey, basically. That's the final destination of our life. So this is a fusing, like it fuses together. Now we've got an opposition to Vesta as well, and Vesta is about sacred flame. It's about what we are devoted to. Vesta in Aquarius is devoted to the big picture, the collective, the freedom. And the full moon in Leo wants to focus kind of like on the spotlight, on your name, on your own light, how you come across to others. So because it's an opposition, we can feel a bit torn between staying focused, let's say on your niche work, and the sudden demand for you to step out and be the public face of it. So there's a little bit of a discomfort around that. And it is asking you to balance between your private devotion and your public persona as well. Now we have got a very tight quincunx to Juno as well. It's a little bit of an itchy aspect. Juno is the asteroid of commitment and partnership, sitting in the sign of Capricorn. And the reason why it's important because the full moon is happening on a Capricorn dwad, and Juno is the one who is also in the sign of Capricorn. So imagine that this Juno would like to have a contract. It would like to create more structure, for example, in a relationship, or it would like to commit to something. While this Leo moon wants a bit of a freedom and it wants a bit of an applause as well. So there is a mismatch between your desire to create freedom and the actual administrative or contractual responsibilities required to sustain that. It might be a realization that to be the boss, I have to do the boss's paperwork, for example. And that's not what I want to do. So that's where we can have a bit of a frustration there. But we have got a trying to series. And this is a supportive aspect there. This is kind of like a way out. And series represents nurturing and mothering of something that you would like to create. I mean, Aries is fast, bold, and pioneering. I think the trine actually provides the physical vitality or that kind of nutritional support to sustain this Leo's dream, basically. This series might say that if we take a bold, independent action, is going to be something that feeds your soul right now. If you act on your instincts, which is very Aries like, the full moon can reward you with a sense of emotional fulfillment and abundance and joy and creativity. So it really feels like that this full moon isn't like a simple celebration. With that Sun, Venus, Mars combination, I think it gives you that creative juice. And Juno and Vesta indicates that the price of this culmination is a major adjustment in how you handle your professional commitments and your inner sacred focus. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this full moon conjunct Asculapia. Its astrological number is 1027, if you would like to look it up, where it is in your natal chart. And um, basically, the story here is he was the son of Apollo, but he was very reckless, driving his father's chariot, and basically he had to be struck down from the sky by Zeus. Otherwise, humanity would have been in danger. So that's pretty much the short story there. And it's interesting that it's echoing that number 13, which I associated with the death card in the tarot. Therefore, this is about, but it's a full moon. So for me, this is about a miraculous comeback. This is about resurrection, basically. By the way, he was also the god of medicine as well. He was so skilled that he could bring the dead back to life. Sorry, I made a mistake here. We are to yes, this is the Asclepius is the god of medicine, and forget about the chariot. Sorry about that. I'm getting confused with another mythological name here, but all of a sudden it doesn't come to my mind who that was. Anyway, so we are talking about the god of medicine who was very skilled and he could bring the dead back to life. So actually, this is where this miraculous comeback or resurrection could be coming from. Um, um, so what it feels like is that imagine that you have an old astrology course, for example, or a book draft, or a creative idea that uh, you haven't completed just yet. Maybe it's coming from years ago. Maybe this is somewhere around 18 months ago, for example. And you can imagine this full moon as a defibrillator. So we are reviving this creative project. So this could be an old idea, for example, that suddenly becomes very relevant thing to you, and then you want to restart that. Or Asclepius has got that healing element to it as well. So this could be talking to us about that you have been an ongoing kind of like desire, for example, to look better. Because Venus and Mars are on the other side, and for Vesta as well. So this could talk to us about that I would like to have a better body, for example, and I'm super focused on that. And this could be a kind of like, this could be marking a final click in your physical healing journey, or a moment where you realize how far you have come from, from the point of no return. So it's a celebration of the body's ability to regenerate. I think with Leo and Asclepia, it also feels like that you can become a teacher, but not only a teacher, but you can become the spiritual authority as well. So maybe this is about finding a remedy for something. But this is not kind of like this woo-woo type of healing. This is something that I take serious. It's going to become structured, disciplined. Potentially, I'm trying to choose something that is tested or proven. This is all because of the Capricorn dwads. So, yes, it might say also that we have to be sacrificing a bit of our privacy, for example, to step into that public, let's say, miracle worker role. But I think there is this rebirth energy here. It is being supercharged by this very intense, creative, sexual vitality with Venus and Mars being also involved. And the healing is going to be happening if we start using that series in the sign of Aries, which is about feeding the soul by bringing these dead things back into your life. We also have got Apollo sitting on 13 degree as well. Apollo's astrological number is 1862. And what's very interesting is that the father and the son are sitting on the same degree. While the sun represents the act of healing, the father represents the source, the light, the truth, the prophecy, the solar excellence, basically. So having them together on the very same degree, it feels like it's a solar powerhouse. It's an absolute brilliance. So Apollo is the god of the sun, represents music and prophecy. So this isn't just about being seen, it's about being undeniable. Apollo doesn't just perform, but he masters as well. Apollo represents something that we are super skillful at. So this would suggest that the work that potentially you are releasing now, it might be a gold standard quality as well. And Apollo represents prophecy also. Apollo was the patron of the oracles at Delphi. So, because this is a full moon, which is about illumination, and Apollo being there as well, it really feels like it's a massive download. It's a moment of prophetic clarity. For example, regarding your career or regarding how you can gain freedom. I think I'm extremely positive with this full moon today, and I think others might be kind of like thinking of drama and certain type of secrets to be, revealed and so forth. But for me, this combination is more about like an awakening. I think this full moon is likely to be a flash of a genius or a clear version or vision of your own future. And then you can get these intuitive insights through your dreams. So also I'm wondering the son and the father are sitting on the same degree. So I'm just wondering there's a lot of healing involved in this chart. So I'm wondering if it's a complete lineage healing or a restoration of your own lineage. So it's about the light of truth, which is very Apollo, that we want to heal or resurrect, and that's Asclepius, the wisdom of the past. I think Apollo's greatest weakness was actually the pride. So with Juno quincunx, like we discussed, I think this Apollo energy might make you feel so invincible that you want to ignore something boring, the structural details. So I think the challenge is to be the sun god while still respecting the contract and the structure. And that's the Juno in Capricorn as well as the Capricorn dwad of this lunation. I would say that altogether, this is kind of like a coronation point for me. I think you are asked to step into a leadership role that is both prophetic and it's meant to be, and also it's about restoring something. So let me kind of like um, give you a couple of global scenarios that I can imagine happening with this full moon. I think this could be a resurrection of a fallen leader, for example. It's kind of like a comeback of someone. So we may see a significant political or cultural figure return from the dead. I mean, imagine, I'm wondering, I'm going to give you just a silly example, but Adele, right? Adele hasn't been doing music for a while. I think she stopped doing music in 2018, 19, right? So I can imagine that this is the comeback of someone like that with a new album, or maybe a leader who got previously disgraced or thought to be retired. So it's kind of like a sudden high profile figure who returns to the throne. Or I can imagine medical breakthroughs, maybe a major announcement regarding a medical advancements, possibly related to the heart, for example, or the longevity of life, due to Leo. Leo represents the heart as well as our vitality. So this could be something that might hit the headlines. And the Capricorn dwad would say that this is not just a vague discovery. It's something proven. It's a medical milestone that is going to be changing our ways of thinking about, let's say, certain type of heart diseases. Yes, there is an opposition. I get that. There is a lot of energy in the sign of Aquarius. So this is still somehow creating a bit of a friction between the individual ego and the collective need. So yes, there could be truth bombs dropped on world leaders, for example. There is a global exhaustion with leaders who perform rather than solve a humanitarian issue. So, yeah, there could be protests and social movements that might target figures who are seen as being too focused on their, own, glory, basically, on their own image. But I also I can imagine that maybe certain type of contractual, governmental, stuff, especially connected to our digital lives with that very strong Aquarian element, or even international relations are a little bit under strain as well. It could represent certain type of glitches that might be exposed, for example, in some digital system or old structures, something that might not be able to handle that high voltage energy that we have got here. Like I said, it could talk to us about the death of an influential person as well. Potentially, it's a performer. Or I can imagine that a masterpiece that is going to be released, maybe it's a new film and it's going to be a big hit, a book, a piece of music, and then everyone wants to download it, and so forth. So these are some of the personal and um, the global scenarios that I can imagine. Now, let's break it down for 12 signs. So this time around, we are going to be doing that, but from the next full moon and new moon reports are going to be available for my members. But instead, you will be receiving weekly forecasts free of charge. So I hope this is going to be super good for everyone. Okay, so I'm just going to be adjusting the time clock. And then we can start with Aries rising sign. So this full moon is happening in your fifth house, which is the house of romance, children, the creativity. So maybe you feel like that a project that was dead or stalled, it's kind of like gaining a second chance, a second life. It's a divine spark of inspiration here. So you are being asked to step into the spotlight and claim your kind of like title as the creator. But the Capricorn dwad wants you to keep it professional. I really can imagine a creative hobby suddenly turns into something profitable, or you are ready to turn your hobbies into a structured business venture. Or imagine a romance from the past reappears for a healing conversation that offers closure or even a fresh start. I think what you need to be cautious with is, you know, is this my way or the highway type of energies when it comes to kind of like becoming non-negotiable with your children in your romantic life or even with collaborators also. Taurus rising sign. The sun god Apollo shines a light into your private life together with this full moon, your home, your ancestry, because this full moon is happening in your fourth house. I think this is a powerful moment for literal or metaphorical like home renovations, bringing new life into this old space. You might finally reach a culmination regarding a property matter or a deep-seated family dynamics. This is about healing connections, for example, with your parents. But like I said, the son and the father sits on the same degree as well. So this might be about a lineage issue that we are able to kind of crack the code here. Or maybe you find the perfect throne, therefore home environment that finally feels like, a reflection of your status, or it can create that inner peace, or it's something that I'm happy about, I'm joyous about. Or maybe a long-standing family secret or even health issue can be brought to light and finally resolved, actually. I think you need to be watching out for tension between your public career and your private needs, though. So that needs to be balanced out. Gemini rising sign, this is taking place in your third house, the house of communication, siblings, local environment. Maybe you are ready to deliver a message that is both kind of like prophetic and restorative. It's about regaining your voice within a community or being able to talk about something that you might have felt silenced before about. This is a peak time for publishing, teaching, launching something on social media as well, making a major announcement, an announcement that potentially carries a significant weight. I mean, imagine a speech or a piece of writing you produce goes viral because it strikes a chord of truth. Or maybe you reconnect with a sibling or a neighbor to heal an old rift. But we're using this mature, like conversational skills as well as we are creating boundaries. But it does warn you that your words have consequences. So make sure that your prophecies are also backed by facts. Your truth Your own truth is also backed by facts. Cancer rising sign. So this full moon illuminates your finances, your self-worth, your tangible assets. With Apollo and Asclepia here, an old source of income could be resurrected. Or you might realize that your true value of that forgotten talent, so you want to return to it. By the way, I would like to also mention that both the Sun and Apollo are actually retrograde. So this is where something is actually returning to us. I can imagine that you are even changing your mindset about abundance too. Maybe you receive a payout that you have been waiting for, or you get the professional validation, and that might be boosting your, your ego as well as your financial security. Or maybe you find a lost item or asset, and potentially something that has been sentimental or a major financial value. But what it warns you about is not to let your ego dictate your spending. The Capricorn element says that we need to stay grounded. We need to get disciplined. We're going to have to roll up the sleeves so that we can make that coin. Leo rising sign. This is happening in your first house. Of course, that's you. So this is kind of like your own coronation. This is a miraculous moment for your identity, for your physical body, for your personal brand. This is about you being seen in your full glory. Maybe you have been doing the healing work. Maybe you have been staying behind the scenes and that now you are ready to relaunch yourself. Maybe you do like a stylistic transformation and that makes you feel reborn, and then people are going to start noticing that. Or I can imagine that a personal goal you have worked on for years finally reaches its peak visibility. One of the cautions is that once something reaches the peak visibility, it's a little bit harder to maintain and it's very easy to fall from grace as well. So I feel like that's where the Aquarius part comes into the picture, which says we're going to have to be able to renew something. And this is happening in your relationship axis. But also, I think the other caution that might be coming up, especially with that Sun, Venus, and Mars combination in your relational house, that your light doesn't overshadow your partner. Virgo rising sign, it is happening in your 12th house. So this is deeply spiritual, a spiritual culmination happening here in the sector of your subconscious in solitude. And what's interesting is that both the full moon and Apollo bring light to this dark house. So they both bring light to your dreams, while Asclepius suggests a profound healing of the soul or that end of a long karmic cycle. It's about releasing something. It's about letting go of something that might not be serving us anymore and it's being spotlighted for you. So this really feels to me an end of a karmic cycle. Therefore, it might be wise uh, to retreat a little bit, to kind of find your inner sun away from the noise of the world so that you can contemplate about this renewal. If you had um, if you had experienced certain type of medical issues, this could be a breakthrough. Maybe in therapy, maybe a meditation reveals a past life, or maybe this is about the recognition of your own talents, or you are ready to resolve a deep-seated fear. Or maybe it's about a completion of a project, something that you have been doing behind the scenes, and you are finally ready to share this. Maybe just a selected, trusted few people first to kind of get feedback from them. What it reminds you of is that you need to watch out for burnout. because there is an intensity around this and it could become physically draining if you don't rest. Libra rising sign. So we have got this full moon shedding light onto your 11th house, which is the house of friendship groups, your long-term dreams. So you might get finally recognized as a leader within your community or finding that tribe that you would like to belong to or you can kind of align your creative vision with. Or maybe a friendship that you thought you had lost, maybe it's a miraculously getting restored. Or maybe you are even invited into an elite circle or an organization, someone that recognizes your unique contribution towards something. So this could talk to us about collaboration opportunities as well. Or maybe a project that you started, finally it's kind of like giving you the funding or giving you the kind of like the income. So you start seeing that, yes, it wasn't all for nothing basically. So you get certain type of visibility that you deserve. If you have got social media channels, this could indicate, for example, that more subscribers or people are going to be watching your videos. However, what you need to be cautious of is to avoid that royal behavior with your friends and learn to share the stage with others as well. Scorpio rising sign, this is happening in your 10th house, and this might be a peak career moment. This house is connected to public status and legacy. So I feel like this is about the resurrection of your reputation. Maybe this is a major promotion, or finally getting an appointment with someone, like a job interview, for example, that feels divine and that could be turning your life around. Maybe this is about you being seen as an authority, or maybe this is about you healing your personal business, your public affairs, so restoring the connection with a boss, an authority figure, and so forth. I can imagine you getting a pay rise, an award, a recognition, and this is something that potentially you're working on. You would like to cement your status a little bit. You want to be a little bit more like a master in your own field. Or maybe you go back to an old passion of yourself, but now with more structure, with more determination, because you want to succeed with that. I think the Juno quincunx might suggest that your home life may require, some adjustments, or others have to be kind of like accommodating the intensity around your career as well. So this could create a bit of a friction with them. Sagittarius rising sign. So this is happening in your ninth house, the house of higher learning, travel, belief systems. This really feels like it's a truth bomb. It's about shedding light on your own philosophy. Maybe you are ready to finish a degree, a book, a major journey that you are finally ready to take. Maybe this is a culmination of your search for meaning to life. And it's kind of like moving away from seeking to knowing something. Maybe this is an international venture that you thought was dead and then it suddenly revived or even become successful. Or maybe you have a profound spiritual experience and that might resurrect your faith in your own future. But this is about seeing the world in a different way and being a little bit more hopeful that the future might be bright for me. I think what it warns you against is not to become too dogmatic. The Aquarius influence reminds you to stay open to the new. The renewal is always important. Capricorn rising sign. So this is taking place in your eighth house, the house of shared resources, intimacy, a deep transformation. It is really about a phoenix moment for you, where something in your life, maybe a debt or a psychological block, is finally cleared and or resurrected into a healthier form. You are potentially mastering the art of letting go of something so that you can gain power. So maybe it's a legal or financial matter involving others is settled, potentially in your favor, and that brings you a sense of healing. Or maybe an intimate relationship reaches a level where we realize that honesty is actually super important, and that way we can heal old wounds. This is an intense house, though, and this full moon feels a bit intense as well. So the rebirth cannot be forced, but also clinging to something that is dying is not a smart choice. Aquarius rising sign. So this full moon is happening in your seventh house, the house of others. So it could talk to us about partnerships, business and personal, are somehow under the spotlight. So with the Apollo and the Sun being here, it might be a relationship that undergoes a miraculous recovery, or potentially you find a partner who acts as a mirror and showing you that you are brilliant. Or maybe it's a contractual agreement that you have been negotiating about. Maybe it finally closes. And with some of the terms that favor your creative freedom. Or maybe you and a partner kind of like working on resurrecting the spark in your relationship. Maybe it's about a shared creative goal. I think the caution here is with that very heavy first house that you need to make sure that you are not being too cold or robotic because Leo is very dramatic and very emotional as well, but they are too proud to show that. And last but not least, Pisces rising sign. So this is happening in your sixth house, the house of work, daily routines, and health. I think this is a massive healing culmination here for you. If you have been struggling with health issue or chaotic work schedule, I feel like this full moon offers the structure to kind of fix something in your life. It's about finding that health regime or the medical professional, for example, who finally provides the cure, or maybe a workplace project you poured your heart into is finally completed and it might receive the very high praise from superiors. However, there is a caution. Don't overwork yourself. Typically, in the quest for perfection, it tells you that your body is your temple, the body is not a machine. So, guys, this is my full moon report. I hope it helps you. The next lunation report, which is going to be an eclipse, we are going to be talking about that for about a good 2.5, 3 hours in the membership program. So that's going to be a lot more detailed with a lot more scenarios as well. So if you are interested in my new membership program, which allows you to study with me to understand the influence of the stars, but at the same time, you do get some predictions as well for your own sign, and you might want to consider joining that. And if you would like to have a reading with me, then it is 50% discounted right now as my birthday gift to you. So good luck, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.